underwhelming. It was literally archives minus, just like Alfredo said.
With the exception of Malma mirrors, because those are just the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen. As
Yeah,
I said
no, it
earlier,
is.
though, I
Literally, you
am
could just stand there and we're just shooting at each other, and then
until
until one of us dies, and the other one dies afterwards.
Ultimately,
Like this. Literally, that's all we have to do. We just sit there.
A
Hi everybody, my name is Will, and today we're actually watching a video I'm going to react to. Let's talk about the state of Overwatch 2. Okay? This is from, Neandra? So I'm very interested to see what this is about.
balance, monetization, and law. Hey there, my name's Deandra, and I wanted to do a big video about how I'm feeling with Overwatch 2. For a while now, I've had a lot of thoughts swimming around in my head, and just wanted to talk for a bit. I'm gonna split this video into a few categories, and I want to begin with some general positive thoughts. So in terms of good, I think the 2.5 month seasonal structure is great. I do think they could spread things out a bit better since the last few weeks of a season tend to be very dry.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, not every limited time mode in Overwatch 2 has been a winner, but some have been really good, especially the ones that switch up how you play someone. You could argue that longer seasons would give higher quality cosmetics and game modes, which is definitely not wrong. However, at the moment, experimenting with 6v6 seems to be the only big thing we know is definitely coming down the line. So I think keeping up momentum and relevancy via shortish seasons is really important right now. I also think you hit diminishing returns at some point as well, since we consume through content so fast. As for other stuff, I actually really like the hero progression system. Blizzard did kind of do their usual thing of community asks for something straightforward and they do their own overly complicated spin on it, but I kind of enjoy how in-depth it is. All the map reworks and changes I've thought were great. Plus, there's a bunch of little things the game does well that you don't really notice. Also, every so often I remember 2CP has been retired and I fall to my knees in Tesco with gratitude. Honestly, despite everything, I still think the core gameplay is fantastic, even when balance patches feel janky. You know the meme that's like, this thing is great when you don't have someone in your ear telling you it sucks? Overwatch can absolutely be that game for you, especially if you're a more casual player. Although there may be more bugs than there used to be, which is partially just the nature of a live service game this big, there's still a high level of polish and fluidity that other similar games noticeably lack. Also, I want to quickly mention Juno. I only played her for about an hour during the weekend trial, but I am enamored. Her kit is really fun, it's really interesting, and I love her visual design as well. Overall, I think they just did a really good job with her. Alright, that's a long enough intro, let's get into my first section, which is balancing. Okay, so I was actually pretty on board with the Season 9 shakeup when it came out. I also recognised that it left a lot of heroes behind, meaning I wasn't going to immediately freak out when they then buffed things. Power creep was definitely a concern, but there were also heroes that suddenly felt lacking in identity or just kinda lackluster. But it's been a few months now, and I'm not as confident. Essentially, I just worry we've lost focus a little bit. Personally, there's a couple of things that started making me uneasy. One of them being, how do I word this, rules that have an asterisk. Basically things like tanks having boop resistance, but Jungle Queen's knife specifically pulls them further. I only learned the other day that Iardi still does full headshot damage against tanks despite their passive because she has a different multiplier. Regardless of my opinion on these as individual changes, it makes me think two things. One, I worry about the new player experience because live service games inherently become less penetrable over time, and two, if we have started to need complicated micro rules or big buffs for every tank in order to make the role appealing, what does that say about the core foundation Overwatch is currently built on? Because if the foundation is poor, then we're just kind of throwing shit on top of something that doesn't work, which quickly becomes a mess without ever actually solving things.
Yeah, because if the foundation is bad, which it currently is, especially for tank, being that it's 5v5, that you have to constantly keep either micro adjusting things for the tanks. You have to make them, like Samito says, giga tanks, like how Flat says they're giga tanks, where it's a kaiju battle, which is 100% true. It's just not fun, especially since I am a tank player. That's all I do most of the time. Sometimes if for some reason the game will throw me into a support game or a DPS game, I'm like, this is an eye roll? What is this? Yeah, I understand a bit of it, but my aim is garbage, which is why I play tank. I mostly just do that. So to see this happening is, it sucks. It really does. I want to be able to have, and I can't wait to see what 6v6 is going to look like in Overwatch 2 when they start changing the things. Man, hopefully that does become something, or at least leads to a good discussion about it being put back into the game, or 7v7. 7v7 also sounds really nice. Granted, a bit complicated, but still overall very nice, and I can't wait to see what that's going to happen. But with the foundation being for tanks right now, it's just not great. Even when I am dominating and kicking ass, I prefer to do that against the tank. I prefer to be winning my tank battles. If I'm going after the supporting DPS, that's nice, but it also somehow feels wrong because I am the dominating force. The moment I get rid of their tank, it all falls apart. And that's not a great experience for anybody, especially me, and I'm the one that's winning.
The more patches that build off of Season 9, the harder it becomes to go backwards. To say, okay, that was fun for a bit, and fair play to the devs for taking a big risk, but is it really making things easier for the balance team? I don't know, it just kind of feels like the devs are slowly reverting things anyway. I could not tell you which characters still had bigger hitboxes and who's been reverted. The DPS passive has also gone back and forth and now affects tanks less, plus there was even some talk of a few heroes getting lower health pools. Basically, the main point I'm trying to make in this section is that to me, it sort of feels like they had a decently strong vision with Season 9, but then that vision has eroded over the last few months. Although I will say, giving everyone the ability to self-heal out of combat, that has been a fantastic success, at least in my opinion.
I kind
of can't believe we went years without this. Like, when I played Marvel Rivals, I immediately missed it. Another thing I do want to give credit to is that the devs are responding to some changes fairly fast. For example,
like that one. That
after
was
the big
super
tank
okay.
buff patch, it only took us 3 days to get some follow-up changes, which was really nice. I do have a lot of sympathy for the balance team because they kinda can't win here. There's just so many different types of players that want or need different things, right? I generally watch every episode of SVB's Group Up podcast, and even amongst content creators, there's not one single vision everyone shares. I've seen multiple creators who say they like it when Overwatch does silly or fun changes, but the difference between a change that's wacky and one that's just dumb is purely subjective, and even creators don't always agree on which one something is. This is also exasperated by the way that social media algorithms encourage us to get our thoughts out as soon as possible. Because if you don't drop a video immediately after patch notes go live, you're losing viewers to a creator who did. This means we can be, to put it lightly, a bit reactionary sometimes.
And
also, this is not meant to be a call out, by the way, especially to anyone in particular. I love my fellow creators, I have a huge amount of respect for them, especially the ones that stream for like 24 hours straight, because like, how do you not just fall asleep? This is more so a reminder that the community isn't a monolith and that empathy goes a long way here. I realized a while back I have a better time with Overwatch if every so often I simply say, okay, I don't personally like this change, but at least I can see who it's meant for. Now admittedly, sometimes I struggle to see who a change is for, and that's when I tend to get concerned. Overwatch is never going to be perfectly balanced, and I actually think people would get bored if it was. That's why a lot of the focus for this section was on core foundation and overall.
I like the ability that when some characters are strong that I get to play and pick them and not always the exact same. I'm a Reinhardt main. I love playing Reinhardt. I like playing other characters too. It is nice to play other tanks and not just be like, okay, well he's the main, he's the meta picker now. Let's only pick this one and not have any fun with it. It's like, okay, well, I mean, it's nice to play tank. I wish I could play something else, but if I pick something else, I'm just gonna lose outright because they're not balanced in any way that is sustainable.
Overall direction of the game. Moving on, I want to talk about monetization and cosmetics.
Oh god.
Obviously, the game needs to make money, and these things do so without affecting gameplay,
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's pretty easy to ignore. Like, I'm not going to be hurt if you don't care about this part of the video. That being said, I still think it's worth scrutinizing, especially when we have seasons like 11,
and I got that one too.
Like fairly
and I got that one.
Cosmetics are a large part of the new content. Now, I have two lines of thinking on this, and even though they're in opposition of each other, I think both opinions can coexist. Side one, there are games more greedy than Overwatch that catch less flack, because it's less enticing on social media to shit on those games.
Because
Side
the
two,
playbase isn't
although
as
it's gotten
big,
better
or
since
it's
launch,
not as good.
Overwatch 2's monetization is still pretty egregious in places. When people say they miss loot boxes or want them back in the game, generally what they mean is they want a more consistent way to earn high quality cosmetics for free.
Yes.
Now, Overwatch cannot be as generous as it once was, but I don't think every player who wants more free rewards is a delusional skin collector that we should just dismiss. Anyway, I don't know exactly what it is, but is anyone else really hesitant to spend money on Overwatch despite how much they play it? When it comes to skins, I almost think the FOMO is so effective that I just disconnect entirely. Like, I kind of hate seeing good epic skins in the shop because I would almost never spend money on an epic skin, unless they were super cheap or they were for mercy. When skins are $20, you need 5 people to buy them to make 100.
It's hard for me to justify it. or for tanks in general, having to spend that kind of money. It's like, oh, do I want to spend this money? Like right now, I'm hard debating if I want to buy the Seraphim skins because the only tank in there is Diva, and I am more caring about how they look in it because I'm like, yeah, they're kind of really pretty, they're really cute, and a lot of them are my waifus. But I also can't justify spending this much money on it. It's like, what do I do? What's the play here? Do I, not eat for a little bit because I also have to. I'm trying to grow YouTube, right? That's kind of a thing. I have to buy games. I have to make content. I have to play employees. One's currently learning how to do thumbnails and is learning how to draw. And she's been learning how to draw for the last 9 months, and she's gotten a lot better from when she started 9 months ago because that is literally her job. And then I have another employee who is helping with the shorts, helping with, soon we'll be doing TikToks and having to help with that. So I have to make and pick and choose. It's like, okay, well, if I could afford this if I work an extra 4 hours at work, or I work an extra day at work, which means that I get backed up on content because on my days off, all I do is record content. One day I record content, one day I edit, and whatever I don't finish on the second day, I then spend the rest of that week editing and posting thumbnails and all the different types that I want to do and scheduling shorts and doing everything. And that takes time. If I'm not spending that time working on it, I'm either attempting to sleep because I don't get sleep, or I'm at work attempting to make more money so that way I'm not starving during the end of the week.
When skins are $10, you need 10 people. There's someone at Blizzard that's smarter than me whose job it is to crunch all these numbers and set the prices to a number people will pay for, despite the amount of Reddit posts from people who say, if skins were cheaper, I would actually buy them. So in a way, it feels pointless to complain about the pricing, but there's a lot of shop skins I have never seen used. And I think you can tell which ones are not moving sales because they come back as event rewards or Twitch drops or whatever. With a roster this big, it is really hard to justify $20 on one skin for a character that I don't play that often, especially when I have a big backlog of Overwatch 1 skins that I can use. But then half the newer heroes don't get capitalized on. I will be forever resentful that they packaged this absolutely gorgeous Sojin skin with a Lucio recolor so they could bump up the price. Oh yeah, recolors. I'm not inherently against them. When you consider how much behind-the-scenes trouble this game has had, I think shop filler is completely understandable. The pricing, though, sucks.
Absolutely.
I think they should either be flat-out cheaper if you own the original, and or throw in the original if you don't own it. Preferably do all three. I think it was extremely gross to charge full price for a recolor of a base legendary you can buy with white coins.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I also feel like they pick a lot of boring skins to recolor or bad color palettes. My two favorites are this Widow one and Rosa Hearts because it stands out from the others while also having a clear theme. It fills a niche that other Reign skins don't. Also, side note, I really want more cutesy, artsy, fancy skins just in general. I feel like we've gotten a lot of cool, evil, robotic themes in the last few seasons and I'm just a bit tired of it. Please, can we just retire the robot voice filter for 6 months or something? As for the Battle Pass, generally I like it a lot.
Seasons?
I think it's a pretty fair deal, and it's not that hard to complete either. There have been some slips in quality though, right? Highlight intros in particular have felt pretty lackluster in recent seasons. This Mei one is just kind of bizarre. I feel like she should at least move her shoulders or something while laughing instead of being so static.
Oh yeah,
I
she's
think
very
the dip in
stiff.
quality is made more noticeable by Marvel Rivals highlight intros, which fully lean into being stylish.
Yeah.
The quality of skins
And that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people have wanted to have, is to have not the character just stand there when you're trying to pick them, because they'll pose and they'll do their hero pose for it. People want to have them with their highlight intros themselves. They want to see the Reinhardt charging, or the Roadhog loading his gun. They want to see the Junkrat ripping his tire. They want to see Ana walking up to you and going, they want to see that in the menu before you select the character. There's nothing wrong with that. If you already have the highlight intro purchased, that should be something that's in there. I don't know how difficult that's going to be versus having, the full static image of just them just doing their heroic pose and just posing like this. Normally, for the default, if you don't own anything for them, I get that. But it is something nice to look at that's not just what we've seen for the last, 8 years. That's just, that's something I've wanted to see for a long time. Because it's not boring just looking at their character going, okay, I'll pick this character. I want to see the highlight intro, because a lot of the people, they don't usually get the highlight intro for their games, if at all. Like, you have to be really, really good to get it. And if you don't, that's like a nice little thing. It's like, well, at least I got to see my intro when I played my character as an inspiration to be able to do something, so I could see everybody watch my stuff and I play the game. But that's just me.
Overall, it's still amazing, especially compared to other games, but I would be lying if I said I had not noticed minor slips here as well. There's a good handful of legendary skins that feel like they should be epic, but Blizzard just wanted to charge more. I've also noticed that there's a few skins and designs where the top half looks great, but then the legs and bottom half are kind of simple and boring. At the risk of sounding delusional, I also wonder if the more niche and lesser play characters would benefit from cheaper skins or being bundled together. We're not stupid, we know who the big moneymaker heroes are, right? Keep them how they are, but maybe throw together a $4 for $20 bundle with skins that didn't sell well or something.
I would buy that.
Overwatch, love the Ashe mythic, but I'm not the biggest fan of this theme, and I've seen a lot of people who felt the same. I kind of wish they had done like a broader 80s or 90s toy theme, so you could still have some of the Overwatch skins, but maybe throw in a magical girl or two, or a 90s anime style profile banner, or oh my god,
I would buy that.
Tamagotchi weapon charm. That would be so good.
I would lose my shit.
Really, would anyone be that upset if this Zarya skin didn't see the light of day? Because I've noticed for a lot of people, how good they think a season is partially or heavily depends on the theme and the skins. I've definitely seen posts from people who care just as much, if not more, about the battle pass than they do about balance. Moving on, let's talk about story and lore. I think we can almost all agree that this is one of the most consistently underutilized aspects of Overwatch, and it's unclear if it's ever going to get better at this point. I remember some months back, a few players and content creators were like, you know what, I think it's a good thing that the devs are going all in on the PvP experience. PvE just hasn't been working, this is what they should be focusing on. And at first I was like, yeah, that's fair enough, I completely agree. But as time has gone on, I've definitely started to miss the intricate care that went into this stuff. I know I'm not the only one who finds it kind of depressing that most of the cool animations we've gotten recently have been trailers for collaboration skins.
Except for the Juno. Juno was actually
one. The Bebop one, the La Seraphim music video. All three of these were so cool and so well done, but I'm also hyper aware that they're adverts.
Yeah, they're absolutely just advertising.
With this talent, like even that little Venture cartoon was really cute.
Yeah,
there was
it was
Genesis,
cool.
Which was a 3-part animated miniseries.
And that was awesome watching
this
that.
This was cool, but I hate how it was released in 5-minute parts over the
course of 3
weeks
ass.
Instead of just being a single 15-minute video.
They literally wanted you to come back. It's like, no, just give me the whole thing.
Bring attention to the comics, short stories, and novels they do make. For example, Wrecking Ball got one fairly recently, but the official Overwatch Twitter account didn't mention it until days later.
Damn.
Whereas Overwatch Cavalry, a fan-run news account, tweeted it immediately.
Oh yeah,
I
am part of that for
maybe
Instagram.
they don't actually want to bring attention to this stuff, because PvE was never officially cancelled, but this might make people ask questions about it.
Oh no, it was cancelled. It was cancelled. They're not making anything for it. It was cancelled. It was cancelled before Overwatch 2 even came out, and people were really pissed off, and I was upset too. But Freedom makes a good point. How are they supposed to be able to make the giant trees for the what was it, the player progression that they're gonna have, where you can pick and choose your things for your character, and I stared at that thing for a while trying to figure out what characters had what in their thing, and I eventually saw that I think Soldier had like 2 rockets, or was able to like have 2 things for healing or something, or had a bigger wave or more burst healing or whatever. I have no idea what the hell it was. I forgot. It's been forever since then. But no, the PvE was definitely cancelled. And my god, that would have been so nice to have, to explore the lore and everything. And the ones that they delivered were so underwhelming. It was literally archives minus. Just like how Frito said. It was archives but with less content. I played when they came out. I played archives. Being able to play the Reaper one, being able to play the King's Row one. Those were amazing. To then go to these ones where it's like, yeah, it's a whole new map and that's nice, but we're just going against bots. We're just going against, something that's, it's current storyline kind of stuff that's like leading into it, but it's so bare bones that essentially there's nothing there that is interesting. And paying for that, I haven't touched it since then. And that's upsetting, because I want this to succeed. I want the lore. I miss the lore. everybody misses the cinematics. We haven't gotten a cinematic since Kiriko came out, and that was a while ago. And now everything is a comic or is just hand drawn, right? Just regular animation, and not the whole 3-dimensional that we're used to, that Blizzard quality that we're used to. It's just upsetting.
You need no watch TV show or anime. And I know
we need
why
anime.
It gets
We need anime.
suggested.
We need
like,
anime.
I definitely
Not
feel
live.
it's one
Not
of the
live.
few
Not
things
live. I
Overwatch
don't need no
could do
cosplayers.
to potentially fix its reputation and get a lot of eyes back on the IP,
Oh,
especially if other recent
so
well-received
good.
shows based on video games are anything to go by. So I am all on board for
Do
an
the Arcane,
Overwatch
do the
TV
Arcane.
show, but
Like
I also
LOL.
feel like it would be the most on-brand thing in the world for us to finally get one after years and years of asking, only for it to fucking suck.
Oh no,
We
100%
would
it
never
would
live
suck.
it down if Overwatch fumbled it, and to be honest, I'm kind of scared that they would.
Yeah,
I
no,
am
the leader
certain
is
this won't
fired
be a
because of
popular opinion,
Microsoft
and maybe it is dumb,
saying
but
there was
personally, if
conflicting
someone high up was
interests
suddenly
with it.
very serious about getting this stuff off the ground, I kind of think that the Overwatch story should be given a reboot or soft reset. Please, just hear me out, okay? So what most people seem to like is the old cinematics, which are largely self-contained backstory and the dynamics between characters. Let's say these can
so
stay, I
good.
don't want to retcon something beloved like dragons or whatever. But it has been over 8 years. The main present-day story has not moved all that much, but the writing team has probably changed multiple times.
Yep.
I think the main reason I would love a proper TV show or external PvE game is that it would give them an opportunity to sit down and say, okay, we have 8 years worth of material, what's worth keeping, what feels dated, what's pushed us into a corner, what can we do to avoid or fix scenarios like the Kiriko Age debacle.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no,
the
that's a
PvE
huge
cutscenes I thought were
disparity.
really cool, but some of them had so many characters. I know that everyone wants to see their favorite hero, but half of them don't say anything because there's already someone else moving the scene along. Which isn't to say that stories about large casts can't work, but I feel there's a reason Arcane didn't focus on the entire League roster and instead went for something smaller and more intimate. We've always kind of known that Overwatch's lore has never really gone anywhere, and in a way it can't do much because a never-ending competitive multiplayer live service game is so disconnected from traditional story layout. It's not like you can kill a character off in lore and retire them in game because, well, people have bought skins for them.
Yeah,
But
you
with
can't.
Overwatch,
They
there was
just
always
can't die.
potential that the story and lore would one day be given the space needed to shine, especially in the years waiting for PvE. With that aspect seemingly silently cancelled, I just feel kinda sad when I see bits of plot teased. It reminds me of the layoffs and how short-term profit is the only thing that matters. I really
Yeah.
want to end this section on a note that's not so bleak, but it's kinda hard.
Yeah,
So you
no,
know
it
what?
really is.
Shout out to the Overwatch community for their fan art of new heroes and theories.
Oh
and
yeah, like
in-jokes
Shock.
or
Shock will look really
whatever.
cool.
Some of the stuff fans have been putting out is so good, so full of
There was one long time ago of including the other members from Diva's Mecha Squad, Devil for her, and someone had suggested, well, what if it's the opposite ult? What if instead of it having the mech go and blow things up, what if she comes out and just starts wrecking people? And I'm like, that's funny. I have a character I want to develop and draw on all the things, and I already have lore planned out for that one specific character. And my God, is the backstory depressing? My God, is it hard? And they're an Omnic too, and that's all I'm gonna say. Because I love the idea of exploring that because they really don't. We only have what? Orisa, Bastion, Zenyatta, and Ramatra and Echo as Omnics. But the people who really experienced the bad was Ramatra. And I want to explore more of that.
the personality, and it helps fill the gap left by Blizzard a little bit. Moving on, let's talk 6v6 versus 5v5. I intentionally waited until Aaron's monster 6v6 blog came out before finishing this video just to be safe. Firstly, I just want to say, I think some people can get pretty nasty about this topic.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
a
think it's
war
fair
right now.
for pro 5v5ers to say that 6v6ers are blinded by nostalgia and have rose-tinted glasses. But I also think it's kinda irritating when I'm discussing an unrelated topic and someone sarcastically brings up 6v6.
No, keep it to the
especially when it's
topic,
presented
idiot.
as an instant fix the game button. And
It's
that's
not.
the big thing to keep in mind, right? Like with any change to the foundation, there's a lot of baggage that comes with it. I have absolutely no doubt that 6v6 would be a huge success initially. In fact, I think the devs would be out of their minds not to use it as a season hook to draw in players.
Oh no,
what
they're
matters
absolutely
and
going to.
concerns me is long-term sustainability. Ultimately, I don't mind which format we go with, but I'm worried we'll end up in a scenario where, like, we love 6v6 for the first few months, then the cracks start to appear, maybe the devs don't balance it the way people expect, and
You need
we
to be,
end up just
like,
as miserable,
on it
but
with
other
balance.
aspects of the game have been neglected because so many resources went into supporting a format change. Like, I would want them to put the work in to give 6v6 a fair shot. I don't want the devs to half-ass it and then say, look, see, it doesn't work, you guys can shut up now.
Yeah.
My biggest concern overall, especially after looking at the blog, is definitely queue times. I used to be someone who was like, yeah, long queue times are fine if it means fair matchmaking. Then I would wait 8 minutes and get stomped, 9 minutes and stomp the enemy. Because even the most perfect matchmaking algorithm couldn't account for someone having an off day or human error that snowballs. I've realised that
I was
this
taking into
rematches
account,
affect my
like,
enjoyment
quickly.
much less if I can just get into the next game fast. Also, I just want to say, it's not actually clear how many players prefer 5v5, and I feel like no one ever considers this. People who like 5v5 generally aren't vocal about it because it's the default, we already have it, so there's less
and
need
they're
to
new
get involved
players
in
or
conversation.
something.
Samito is sort of seen as a spearhead of the 6v6 community, but
No,
could
he
you imagine
is the
someone doing
spearhead.
this for 5v5? No, because making videos celebrating the status quo would be kinda weird. If you are
No,
familiar
that's
with my
Frito.
content,
Frito's
you
the
probably
5v5
either know me
advocate.
as the useless Overwatch facts TikToker, or as someone who does educational mercy content.
The TikTokers.
Well, I also love playing Winston, and tank in general,
Winston.
specifically in 5v5. Generally, I don't get involved in format discussions because I know nobody is going to change their mind. It doesn't mean I don't have an opinion though. I think 6v6 had higher highs than 5v5, but it also had some really bad lows as well.
Yeah, especially when you had to rely on your
Overwatch
other
1,
tank to do
I remember my
stuff.
4 stack of friends waiting in 8 to 11 minute quick play queues because none of us were queuing tank. And the reason none of us were queuing tank is because we were all burnt out from being forced to play it every single time.
I
I
love
also
it.
remember how if you were in the metal ranks, queuing for tank without knowing how to play Reinhardt was kind of throwing, because Ryan Zarya was the only pairing people there actually liked and knew how to play.
At
Which
the
was
lower
miserable
elos.
for me, because Reinhardt is one
Like
of
mine.
the only tanks I don't enjoy playing.
Oh, I
Don't get me
love
wrong,
Reinhardt.
5v5 also has its list of issues. As a big Winton head, I am well versed in winning a single fight, and having Roadhog, Cassidy, Reapers, and Yada all just suddenly pop up. I don't really know how you solve the counter swapping problem without making tanks more generic and samey, or by adding restrictions to swapping, which most people probably
No,
wouldn't
just
be
change
into.
abilities.
When I play tank, I love interacting with the entire enemy team. This is why I love Winston and also Sigma, where I'll shield off a sniper, or block an ability, or whatever. The tank games I
As
find
you should.
boring, which definitely happen in 5v5,
Maga!
are the
Pressing
ones
E.
where the enemy tank is only going for me and trying to suck me into an endless tank 1v1, where the supports are glued to us. With the exception of Malma mirrors, because those are just the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen. As I
Yeah,
said
no, it
earlier
is.
though, I
Literally,
am
you
open
just
to
stand there and we're
6v6,
just shooting
I
at each
wanna
other,
be
and then
given a
until one of
fair
us dies,
trial,
and the other one dies
because
afterwards.
Ultimately, I think the devs should do what's realistically best for the game, rather than what I personally like.
Like
as an
this.
individual.
Literally, that's all we have
Maybe
to do.
that's
We just
6v6
sit there.
providing a stronger core foundation, or maybe it's 5v5 just because of queue times.
There we go.
Alright, let's wrap up with some concluding thoughts. So, if it wasn't obvious from this video, while I think Overwatch has its many problems, it's still very much a game that I love and care for. I'm also very much aware that being a content creator for this game will skew my opinions and give me blind spots. Something that I think is worth considering is that you need to be the one that cultivates a healthy relationship with this game. The developers put so much genuine passion into their work, but Overwatch is still a live service game with FOMO tactics out the ass that will try to hook itself into you. Another good thing about the seasonal structure is that you can say, okay, I'm gonna take a break for a few weeks and come back when the next one
Yeah.
drops. But you have to be the one that does it because the game sure as shit won't. And on that note, that is everything I have to say. This video took way more time than I thought it would. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.
I really enjoyed it. That was a really good video. Very good discussion on that. The monetization, absolutely. That's what they need to do in order to be able to keep the game, because it is free. And they do need to make money somehow. And the only way they're going to do that is by selling new skins that they put a lot of time into, which is why they occasionally throw out the pictures of them to show, hey, by the way, we have this skin coming down in the future. Maybe it's like, I could see myself buying that kind of thing. I mean, I'll buy anything that's Reinhardt. Unfortunately, even though he's not good sometimes, I'll be like, I gotta get the skin for Reinhardt. I gotta get this skin for Reinhardt. I have to. It's Reinhardt. It's my main. It's literally my main. I have to buy this. All right. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.